Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. It feels a little funny to actually be doing the show because I took 2 weeks off, and I don't think I've done that in a year of doing these lives. So thanks for those that do come every week. And if you're wondering where I was, the first week I was totally consumed with the course that I was running for platform teachers called Going Solo. And last week I was actually on holiday and I was away. Monday was a public holiday, so I couldn't run the live show. But here I am, and I wanted to talk about my journey to independent teaching. I've been running 2 courses over the last 2 months. It's been really busy, but really exciting and fun to be helping teachers to move from platforms like VIPKid and GoGoKid and Palfish and various companies in China, and to help them grow their independent teaching business to be able to continue teaching their students. And I've learned a lot through the last couple of courses and wanted to share on this live a little bit about my journey to independent teaching, how I started doing this, what I've learned along the way, and some of the things that I'm actually doing, including the prices that I'm charging, the curriculum that I'm using, and sort of some of the decisions that I've made over the last several months as it relates to teaching my students privately. And many of you are interested in doing this because maybe your platform has shut down. You've got communication with some of your students on WeChat or other social media, and you're kind of wondering about how to put all those puzzle pieces together and how to actually make it work. So we just actually finished the last course live on Sunday, just yesterday, and I'm not sure that I'm going to be running the course live again, but I will be kind of considering that over the next couple of weeks. However, you are able to access the course and jump in. The only downside to it is you won't have the live group calls, but everything is recorded and available. So if you are kind of needing the training and needing the roadmap to doing this with the tech tutorials, downloads, and module training, then you're welcome to go and check out onlineteacherdude.com/launch. And it is available there. But I wanted to take the time during this live to kind of go over how I transitioned from working on a platform. I was primarily a VIPKid teacher, and I've totally stopped opening slots there, and I'm doing this really more than I want to. I've got 17 students at the moment and enjoying it, but it's a lot busier than I thought it would be. And but I've decided to focus all my energy on private teaching at the moment and helping teachers as well. It's been a really nice transition, not only from me teaching on a platform and entering into teaching privately, but also transitioning my coaching from helping teachers get hired to various companies to now helping teachers become independent teachers and to build their business from the ground up. So do say hi if you're here in the chat. I would love to see who's here. I'm just going to pop that over here. Masangu, the first one here. Yes, thank you for being here. And Sausan, hey, you were just in my course that just finished as well. And we've got teacher Donzi from Caledon. Let me just see here. Caledon, South Africa, I'm assuming. Did I say that right? Facebook user. I'm here. Yeah, so if you are on Facebook, you have to authorize Facebook to be able to use your name. You're welcome to do that, or just continue to be Facebook user. Hi, Megan. How are you? Good to have you here as well. Yeah, please do say hi in the chat. And if you've got any questions along the way about this, feel free to pop them in. I'd be happy to answer them. So one of the first things I say that I transitioned from VIPKid to independent teaching, but actually I have been independent teaching for about, let's say, 8 or 9 years. And I started with my very first student when I left China. I was teaching at an international school there, and we wanted to figure out how I could continue to teach him privately. I was doing at-home tutoring with him while I was I taught him in first grade, and then I was doing at-home tutoring. And then we kind of put some things together, figured out how to teach online. There was really nothing available 8 years ago, and I didn't have a sweet clue what I was doing. I was teaching him on Skype. The parent figured out how to get Skyped on the computer, and that worked. And I didn't have a payment system, but the mom went to the bank every 4 or 5 months and deposited money into my account. It took her about 4 or 5 hours to do that, but she stuck with it, and that was how I was getting paid. I then found some other easier methods through some friends that were living in China that were able to transfer the money to me. And she would pay for groups of classes in groups of 50. So they lasted for quite a while. But now we've got so many more tools available and easier ways of navigating that whole payment thing. So I started with him, and then through that, I got several more students. I was teaching about 4 students for, I would say, 3 or 4 years. And then some left, some new ones came along. Some students found me on YouTube. Some students found me in different other, Instagram, different other ways. And, just through Facebook asking for a teacher. So I've kind of always had a steady flow of 3 or 4 students. And when this all happened with VIPKid in August and with the whole crash in China, a lot of students were starting to prepare for that and wanted to know if I'd be continuing classes. But at that point, they weren't really ready to actually transition. So it was kind of like, take time to get things set up, but we're not actually quite ready to take classes. And then I would say towards the end of October is when I started to take students on privately and to actually start teaching them. So I started with a few, and that grew quite quickly to about 6 or 7. And then once I had systems set up and had an actual curriculum that I was using and a payment method that was kind of ironed out, as well as just a more streamlined process for explaining what we're doing and how it's all going to work. Then I grew to about 13 students, and I've now got 17, and I've definitely got a full schedule. I see most of my students twice a week. I would say half of them I see twice a week, and the other half I see once a week. I'm still teaching roughly the same amount of hours that I did with VIPKid, maybe a little bit more. And my scheduling is a little bit different. With VIPKid, I was fortunate to be able to do short notice every day, which I absolutely loved. There was no pressure to open classes if I didn't want to teach the next day. But now I do a weekly schedule, a fixed schedule with all the students, and it doesn't change for right now. So that's kind of how I'm doing it with the scheduling. Other teachers are, maybe creating calendars and sending the calendar out for students to book. But what's kind of worked for my students and I is just to have a fixed schedule, and they know their time every week. So 17 students, and charging way more than I was making at VIPKid. So my rate started at $40 an hour, $20 a class, and I've since increased that to $45 an hour or $22.50 per class. So I was on the higher end of the pay scale with VIPKid. I was at around, before the pay structure changed, I was at $25 an hour. When the pay structure changed and I wasn't able to teach as many classes, I was probably getting about $23 an hour. And so my goal with private teaching was to be able to double that. And so the $45 an hour works for me. Now, obviously, with that comes expenses, out of class preparation time, transfer fees when you receive the funds, and exchange rate issues as well. And so, I'm quite happy with that 40 to 45 per hour at the moment, and probably will increase after about 6 months, depending on how things go. So that's kind of in a nutshell, a little bit about how my transition, so to speak, has happened from VIPKid. I don't plan to teach on the global platform. I just don't have time. And at $14 an hour, it isn't going to work for me, where I have a full schedule at $45 an hour. But I'm interested in how that's going and sort of how it grows, and keeping an eye on all of those aspects of it. And I'm also interested in other online companies and what they're offering, and will continue to update this channel with companies that I think are a good fit for platform teachers that may not want to teach independently, but are still wanting to teach ESL online and feel comfortable with a company. But I'm really here to say that anybody can do this. And, whether it's fear or just limiting beliefs about what you think you're capable of doing, I really believe that anyone can do this. And what I've seen through helping about 120 teachers over the last 2 months that have been in both of my courses is that when teachers start this process, they lack a lot of confidence in what they think they're capable of doing. And a lot of the tasks that seem really challenging, like receiving payments, talking to parents from a sort of business perspective, choosing curriculum, pricing their classes, launching it with their students, growing their business by marketing on WeChat. Those things seem really daunting and scary because we've never had to do that. And if you've only ever been a platform teacher with a company like VIPKid, you never had to worry about those things. You never had to worry about the marketing or the prices of your classes and things like that. But I want to say that the freedom that comes with this is incredible, and the opportunity as well to work less and make more money and be in control of all those things is really, really cool. A lot of the decisions that you need to make to become an independent teacher can seem overwhelming. And, after seeing lots of teachers go through this process over the last couple of months, I've learned a lot about the options that are out there and, what teachers struggle with, as well as, kind of the process that they go through to actually moving independent. And so that's what I'm here to talk about. So if you have any questions about independent teaching and what we are talking about today, feel free to pop them in. Patricia, hello. 25 minutes. So while I've kept the same structure as VIPKid in terms of my classes, I really like the 25-minute class with the 5-minute break. It just works well for me and allows me to have that little space in between classes. So that's what I'm doing, 25-minute classes. And I do about 4 or 5 a day. So 2.5 hours roughly a day. Yeah. Hello, David. Good to see you. What do you think of Amazing Talker? I don't think too much because I don't really know too much about them, actually. I think they're kind of a platform similar to italki, I believe. I was talking with a teacher who was working for Hello Talk, actually, not that long ago, and they seem like an interesting company. But sorry, I don't know too much about Amazing Talker. So what I had to do was make the decision when this was all going on that this is something that I actually wanted to do. I have a lot of other things in this business that I do with YouTube, my website, a little bit of affiliate marketing, with creating content on the channel, keeping up with content on my website, and a little bit of marketing here and there. So I'm quite busy with other things, and I didn't know if I really wanted to go all in with the independent teaching. And to be honest with you, I might be taking on more than I can handle at the moment. And so I'm going to see how things go into the new year, as well as, I've got some courses that I sell and still doing some coaching with teachers as well. So I'm very busy, and I needed to make sure that if I did do this, that my preparation was really low for classes, that I wasn't spending too many hours outside of class preparing lessons, as well as making sure that I was getting compensated at a point at a price that was going to make me want to do this. And so that's how I arrived at my price per class. I don't have a website for teaching online. I do recommend getting a website in the course that I offer because it is a good idea to have a business site set up, an online presence if you don't already have one, to be able to set up your Stripe account. So that's how I receive my payments, through Stripe, through my business account on Stripe. And I have integrated WeChat Pay as a payment method. So that's how the parents pay. And that's really the best way for Chinese parents to pay you. To get authorized with Stripe and WeChat, I did use my website that isn't specifically for online teaching, but it's for online teachers. And I sell products and other little things on the website. So I was able to use that, and that's how I got authorized. But you don't need to have a website set up. You don't need to have too much, really. Stripe in particular likes to see a little bit of an online presence with, a way that people can contact you and a listing of your products and services so that they know that you are like a legitimate business. So I do recommend that. And a really good website service, if you're not using it already, is Strikingly. They allow you to create a page, to build a page really easily with a few drag and drop features, totally free. If you wanted to pay for their monthly plan. It's not very much money, but it does allow you to have your own domain. Whereas if you don't pay for the premium service, then you're going to have like a subdomain, yourwebsite.strikingly.com. It's still totally fine, but for those that want to maybe market outside of China and build this into a bigger business, I would recommend getting your own domain name and going with the low price premium on Strikingly. The other cool thing about Strikingly is they do help your website to be Chinese facing friendly, meaning that they will help it to be viewable in China. And so you can message their support to do that. So I really like that about them, because oftentimes websites that we build on platforms like WordPress and other ones aren't always viewable, or at least have a really slow loading time in China with the firewall. All right, platforms for teaching. So there's a lot of options out there for platforms. A lot of teachers will just use Zoom to get started, and that's actually what I did. So with the first few VIPKid students that I had, I knew that I wanted to get them onboarded and started, and I didn't have anything that I was completely comfortable using or paying for at that time. And I do pay for Zoom's premium plan because I do a lot of Zoom calls and I need more time than the 40 minutes. So I just decided to use Zoom. Then I started to learn more about another platform called Tubi Live. So that's the number 2, B, and then live. And what I did was I moved my students onto Tubi Live and started teaching them on there. And at the moment, I have all 17 students on. Well, actually, sorry, I shouldn't say that. I teach one student on Zoom that I've had for years using the Off to Class curriculum. And I have another student on Zoom that I use some other resources for. So I guess I've got 14 or 15 students on Tubi Live. They are more of a B2B platform. They have a great classroom environment. That's what I was looking for, something more robust, more comprehensive than Zoom. And they were working at that time on getting things more set up for Chinese clients. And so that's what I've been using. However, I have found there to be a lot of glitches and some issues with the onboarding of new students. And even with the students that I've got on Tubi Live, they're having problems logging in. Without going into too much detail, there's a few issues with some students using the platform. But by and large, more or less, I'm not having too many issues. There's no perfect platform out there. However, I am exploring ClassIn to transition my students to in the new year. So I haven't completely made that decision yet. The old expression, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And it's not broken, and I'm happy with Tubi Live, but I'm considering ClassIn because of some of the features that I like on there that Tubi Live doesn't have. So again, you just have to kind of look around at what's available. There's another one called NewCall that I've learned a little bit about. There's a teacher, Erica, who's on YouTube, who has done some videos about NewCall. There's another one called Koala. I don't know how usable it is in China. There's Voov, if you want sort of a Zoom alternative that works well in China. That's Tencent's company. Another one called Zumu, Zhumu. So there's lots of options out there. But I always tell teachers, if you just want to get started, just use Zoom. It's free for 30-minute classes. It's easy to use. It has the annotating function. It has the chat box. It has the video and audio. So really, that's all you need to get started. You just need a place to do video and audio, allow share screen for your lessons, and to be able to get a student in as easy as possible. So Zoom will fill that need if you need something just to get started and you don't want to worry about paying for something like ClassIn. Although they do have a free plan, the paid one is pretty great. It's a little costly, I guess, if you look at it as an upfront cost. I think it's about $300 on an annual subscription basis, but it works off of a credit. So you get a certain amount of money in your ClassIn credit account, and then each class subtracts a little bit from that. So it works out, looking at my schedule, that it would last me about a year. So, about $25 a month for that. So you have to factor in those things. And I wouldn't recommend it unless you are actually teaching students and getting paid, and that you've got a little business going with this before you paid for something like that. Okay, let's pop in the chat here because I've been rambling and rambling. Hi, Donzi. $22.50 US dollars for 25 minutes. So it's $45 for an hour. You're welcome, Cheryl. Hey, how are you? So glad that it's helped with your confidence. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, that's really sometimes the biggest issue, right? In the beginning, when you get started with this, like, you're a good teacher, you've been successful on a platform, but there's so many things that go into independent teaching that we don't think about. And then when we're actually faced with it, it's really difficult to kind of pull it all together and make it work. But you can, go simple, progress over perfection, I always say, and to not feel like you need to have everything perfected from the beginning, because in reality, you really don't. Let's talk about curriculum. So this is by far the most challenging decision that you will make in going independent. It's not how to get paid, because there's options for that. It's not, do I have a website, because it's yes or no. It's not what platform I use, because there's not a ton of choices, and you can make that decision pretty easily. And you can change that as well as time goes on, as I'm doing. It's curriculum. It's what are you teaching? And a lot of teachers get bogged down with the amount of options that are out there. There are literally hundreds of options. But when you pare it down to what most independent ESL teachers are using right now, there's probably about a dozen different choices out there. Some great, some not so great. And, it takes time. And my biggest recommendation is to go through what's available, go into the Facebook groups, talk to other teachers, find out what other teachers are using, talk to them about the pros and cons, how they do it. And, also examine what is it that you want to be able to teach, and don't conform to a curriculum just because it's popular or just because a parent has told you that's what they want. Look at what fits your style, because maybe making lessons for every class is just not going to work for your lifestyle. Maybe clickable slides is just something you want to get away from if you were doing that with VIPKid, or maybe that's what you're looking for. So it's really an individual decision, but it really is a difficult one. And it's hard for teachers to arrive at that decision because there's so many options out there. And I kind of advocate for a flexible curriculum. I like teachers to sell their skills as a teacher to the parents, and to let them know that they're going to focus on, X, Y, and Z, but that they're going to pull in resources maybe from different areas. As long as you have a system and you've got maybe 2 or 3 of your favorites, you can really make it work. I personally am using Raz Plus. I've been using Reading A to Z for years, and I've been using it with those private students that I had even before all of this happened. And it wasn't until around September or October, when I was diving more into this, that I really saw the potential for it with all my students. It's not perfect, and there's not going to be any perfect curriculum, but what it offers is something that is something I haven't really seen with any other curriculum. It offers a student app. And so as the teacher, you're able to send books to your students. And so this really covers questions about homework, pre-class viewing. They're able to really do this within the app. If you're sending the books to the student before the class, then you're able to kind of do a flipped classroom approach with your students, because you're not actually spending the 25 minutes maybe reading a book with them. You're actually able to go into the activities and to teach the actual skills within the story, because the students have already read it. And so I find that it's been a really good resource for me, but it costs money. It's about $200 per year, I believe. And then there's an ELL edition, which is also really nice, for about $60 a year. So when it's all said and done, it's about 20 US per month, right? So that's what I'm using. I also use Off to Class with my older student that I was sharing about earlier. And I've got a few students that I have not put on reading A to Z at the moment, but I'm using some other resources that I've kind of had um, in the past with students. Not a specific curriculum program, but some skill practice and a little bit of reading and things like that. But there's some very nice resources out there. I really like Kid Inspired for a similar approach like reading A to Z, but they were but a little bit different. And I think that they've got a really good thing going because they have a lot of different skills that you can practice with the student within the unit. So if they kind of list it as a unit with maybe a literacy lesson, they've got a grammar lesson, they've got a vocabulary lesson, maybe a writing lesson as well. So there's a lot in there that that I really like about them. So that's curriculum. Let's see if anyone's got any questions here. I was retrenched in February after teaching kindergarten for 23 years. So sorry to hear. Need to teach online, but my confidence is low right now. Well, maybe get started with a company like Cambly because they don't pay well, but they are a foot in the door. You're welcome. I just haven't spent much time lately looking at companies. I've done a couple of video on companies hiring South Africans. I think Amazing Talker might be one of them, but you're probably better off doing another YouTube search and maybe a Facebook search into some Facebook groups for that. Cheryl says, I'll be using Raz beginning this week. Great, Cheryl. That's awesome. Yeah, I really like them. So there's kind of two routes that you can go with a lot of these programs. The programs like Wonders, Nat Geographic, Reach Higher, Raz Kids, Kid Inspired, I guess, to an extent, they will give you different resources to use. And you can just screen share those resources. Or a lot of teachers are turning those into PowerPoint lessons, kind of like VIPKid. And so if that works for you, there's a lot of work involved in that. And so you have to kind of think about what you want to be able, what you have time for and what you want to be able to do. I'm in a Facebook group that has a lot of teachers making lessons for different programs like Wonders and Reach Higher, I believe it's Nat Geographic, Reach Higher, and Raz Kids as well. But it takes a lot of time. So I'm not making, 30 slide PPT slides for each class, doing 20 to 25 classes a week. This is just not feasible for the amount of students that I'm teaching. But it could be for you if you have less students. What do you use to create your lessons from A to Z? So I just use what's in there. So I give the book to the student before the class, and then I use the resources that are in the that are actually in the Raz less resources. So if you go to the ELL edition, they've got some really nice worksheets that go along with the lesson. I use the vocabulary, vocabulary cards to teach the vocabulary. And we just kind of run it like that. I'll do different screen shares in the class. I'll pull up the whiteboard and I will, maybe just on the fly, do a little mini lesson about the phonics sound for the lesson. Raz really lays it all out for you, but it is geared more towards a classroom of students. So you have to tweak things and think about how you would do that with a one-on-one student. Christine, do you think the market has been saturated with private ESL teachers since the Chinese lockdown? Absolutely not. Think about it. There are billions of students in China wanting classes, literally. It couldn't be more unsaturated in my opinion. So absolutely not. It is definitely not saturated. And not all platform teachers are taking all their students. I definitely didn't take all my students off of the platform. In fact, half of my students that I teach now, I've met for the first time, more than half since doing this. A lot of the students that I had weren't interested in continuing. And some of them, I've just had to say that I'm so sorry. I'm really fully booked right now. So I'm keeping them at bay to see what happens after this next round of packages that I send out for payments to see if all of mine are going to continue or not. I might have a couple of open spaces, but no. The market in China is just booming right now because of what's gone on. And, there's a lot of opportunity there right now. If Cambly rejects you, where should you go? Try again. Try again with them. Tweak your video. You're welcome, Christine. So tweak your video. Another one is Ngu. Don't know too much about it, but you could try them. Yeah. All right. And for scheduling, I wanted to talk about that for a minute as well. I started with Calendly, and I used Calendly to schedule with my first 4 or 5 students. But now, as I said, I have a set schedule. So I don't actually send out a schedule every week. They don't book on Calendly or anything like that. There's another app called Sprintful that has a language change to Chinese, which is kind of cool. I think it's sprintful.com. So you could, if you wanted to have like an open calendar connected with your calendar to send out to students as a link, and then they can book your classes. Calendly does that. Sprintful does that. There's a lot of different GoToMeeting. There's a lot of different apps out there that will let you create a calendar, set your availability, send the link out to students, and they book it. That's another option if you wanted to go that route. So that's basically it. That's kind of what I wanted to talk about. Hey, Grace. Yes. Can't figure out to turn the pushes. No worries. I thought I wanted to use one curriculum, but find I am pulling from several sources to make the PPTs and teach from. Yeah. So are you making PPT lessons for every one of your classes? How many classes? I'd be curious. How many classes are you teaching in a week or in a day? And how do you find the lesson preparation time to the teaching time? How much time are you spending on that? See if there's any questions I missed up here. Yes. Do you have any students from China? How do you get more students? So I have lots of tips for getting more students. But the thing about marketing in China is that it's very difficult as a foreigner if you don't already have a base of contacts on WeChat. Once you have a few parents, the marketing really is easy. It's all word of mouth. There's some things you can do on WeChat Moments, some specific marketing things that you can do about your own classes and providing value, creating groups, having parents invite their friends into groups, having parents share images on their WeChat about what you're doing in class, things like that, always including your WeChat QR code in all of the marketing and all of the stuff that you create for WeChat. That's a great marketing tool right there. But it really starts with having a few parents to start with. Yeah. Yes, I missed that one. Good. You got your first paying client. That's awesome. Congratulations, Cheryl. Patricia enjoys classing. Good to know. Yeah. Brenda, I was sort of talking about this. I think it's a huge task to do creating curriculum for every learner. Absolutely. Yeah, it really, really is. So because VIPKid already has all the stuff inside there, I just use what they've already got. And then I use the whiteboard for teaching different things as well. I don't feel like you need to make your lessons look and feel exactly like VIPKid. Yes, they had a great curriculum. It was really fun. They, and a lot of these companies do too. And they kind of had a great system down where any teacher from anywhere in the world with just about any background could enter the classroom and teach the 25 to 30 slides and be finished the content. And it was just wrapped up like a nice little present and a nice little package. And it was foolproof. I mean, it was easy to teach from. You didn't really need to do any preparation. It was intuitive. So they had a great thing going. But maybe that's something that you're not interested in doing or you want a change. And private teaching really allows you to do something completely different. I find that most of my parents really just want their child to have confidence in speaking and having conversation and to bring in the reading and the grammar and all that stuff within there. But, you don't always need to have those identical type 25 to 30 minute PowerPoint slides. I mean, look, I'll be the first to admit they're great. And if I had the time to create lessons for every RAS book that I was teaching, then I probably would, because I think it is really nice to have that structure and to not have to kind of worry about or think about what's coming next. but I also find like you don't really need it. And my kids are still learning and enjoying the classes. So it's really about how you approach it in the classroom. Will companies allow their material to be used by independent teachers once they've closed? Definitely not, I would say. No, I don't think so. However, I'm sure the teachers have found, well, I know the teachers have found ways to get their hands on the curriculum. I've seen the VIPKid curriculum floating out there. Facebook user, how can you contact parents on WeChat? Do you advertise on WeChat? Yes, definitely. You can advertise. It's really only going to be seen by your contacts, though. It's a very closed social media app. And contacting parents is just about getting their contacts. So if you're still working for a company, make sure you get their contacts somehow and get them onto WeChat. That's the best way. Let's see here. If I've covered all the questions. Yeah. So again, if you're kind of interested in this and you're maybe thinking like over the holidays, over the next couple of weeks of getting all of this set up and you want some support, literally everything is in this course that I've got. And you have access to all the modules, all the tutorials. There's really a lot in there, minus the live Zoom calls. You'll get everything that I've got in the course. So until I make this available in a slightly different format, you can jump in there over the next couple of weeks and purchase it and go through it. And I'll still be available for you through email support if you need and have any questions about any of the aspects of going independent. So again, that's onlineteacherdo.com/launch if you want to check it out. And I've got some testimonials on there of teachers just like you that have gone through it and are selling classes. Some of them are on this call right now, on this live chat, and are doing the things and making it all work. Thank you, Cheryl, so much for that. The course is so worth it. I really appreciate that. I've tried to make it as valuable as possible and, really just to give you action steps and support. Do parents want students to have pre and post class material? Yeah, Stephanie, it's a mixed bag with that. I have had parents, the nice thing, this is why I like VIPKids. The nice thing is it kind of covers that basis, right? But that's a decision you need to make from the beginning. And I don't do anything extra outside of that. I've had parents ask for recordings. I've thought long and hard about the recordings, and it's not something that I'm prepared to do. So unless I pay for Klassen and do the cloud recording, that's one option, but I've just basically said it's not available under what I'm doing. And that's okay. You can say what works for you. Previewing material, if that's something that you want to put time into doing, it sounds like a lot of work to me. But again, that's why I like VIPKids, because I can just send books to kids and that covers that really well. Hi, Cindy. Thank you so much for that. So yeah, it's an individual decision. Some parents do want it, but I've had some parents say not interested in homework, not important. So it's a mixed bag. But a lot of parents, yes, if you offer it, they're not going to say no for sure. All right, guys, thank you so much for hanging out. I'm sorry I was away for the last couple of weeks. Hopefully I'm back on a schedule. I don't know, with the holidays coming up, it might be a little spotty, but running the course as well as making videos and, building my own teaching business has been really busy around here. But I wanted to pop on and share a little bit more about my journey and inspire you if you are on the fence about doing it to do it as well. So thanks again, and hope you have a wonderful Monday. Thanks again for being here, and I will see you. Yeah, I'll definitely see you next week if you are here on the channel. And again, if you're watching this on the replay, please leave any questions that you have in the comments. Would love to answer them there. Bye, everyone.